noticeably bad. It's just like, well, they're playing non-characters, what do you expect? Like, there's no reason to care, but it could be worse. You can't imagine, sorry, this cat is the cutest thing. You can't really see what he's doing. He's just so fun. He's lying on his back, and, yeah, I know. He's like, what are you doing? I'm just trying to demonstrate what you were doing, and it's cute. He's doing this. And he was twitching his foot like this. And oh well. He's like, why are you exhibitioning me? I don't know. People will probably rather watch you than me, so we're just going to keep you on camera. And, anyway, so I got bored. Like, there wasn't anything to talk about. It was like, my entire reaction, I kept on thinking this in the back of my brain while watching this movie. Oh my god, I don't care. And they want you to care so bad. So, yeah, this is a bad movie, but it's not like Dark Shadows of the Lorax where you're angry. It's just like, you feel sad for these poor stupid fucks that made this movie that had no talent, and they kind of tried, and they failed, and it's really dumb, and it doesn't quite know that it's dumb. It's just a feeling. It's just a taste. But I get the feeling that the guy who made this movie was trying to make something he thought was cool. It just didn't work. So yeah, if you don't like the whole soulless Hollywood just making like a movie to trick the innocent masses, the stupid masses, and like thinks you're dumb, that actually isn't this movie. It's not a good movie, but this movie is trying. It kind of wants you to feel something for it, and it just has no skills to. And so apart from that, there's not really anything to say apart from the things I noticed. Okay, well, these are little things. These are details in the movie that were particularly funny to me, because for the most part, it's a big morass of stupid humans acting stupid, kind of like Transformers, with no aliens. Like, the aliens don't show up till maybe 30 minutes into the movie? I don't know. It's a long time. And then when they do show up, it's just like metal churning explosions, blah, 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 and there's no, like, cut back to the people. It's like, can we go back to the stupid people? Then we go back to the stupid people. It's like, can we go back to the aliens? Like, you just don't care. But details-wise, so there is, the aliens, when they arrive on Earth, they show this to you constantly. Like, you see this 100,000 times in this movie. They show the targeting vision of the weapon systems. And, like, it's very selective. Like, if they see somebody, I think the implication, they never explain it, I think the implication is if they see something they don't think is a threat, they can't target, or they decide not to target it. But basically, if they see something they don't think is a threat, their vision turns green, and the thing is targeted and it goes green, and they don't attack it, even if by all rights they kind of should. Like, if it's a huge-ass battleship, but it doesn't actually have any weapons armed at them, they'll go, and they'll, like, move on to something else. So, and if they don't like it, it turns red, and it targets, like, all their little weak points as it does this. So, like, if it targets a battleship, and it's like, okay, here's their weapon system, here's their, like, heart, whatever. Like, there's a point where it looks at this little boy at the Little League game, and it, like, shows his eye, and if his eye is showing fear, or threat, or confusion, or whatever, and the boy's a bad actor, so it's just sort of a blank expression, and then it shows his heart, like, okay, that's the thing's weaknesses. Got it? Okay, so that's supposedly how it works. There's a random moment when there are horses on the island of Oahu. I assume they wander freely. They don't... If they are owned by somebody, that doesn't seem to be the case. They're just sort of wandering freely around the island. So if they are owned by somebody, this is not a mistake. But it's still weird. They look at the horses, and they have the little targety thing come up. And only one thing comes up for this horse, besides, like, its eye to show threat, I guess, is a horseshoe. Like a little GIF, I guess, that's a little hologram of a horseshoe. And I'm like, okay, first of all, like, I suppose that's the only metal thing it would be wearing, so is it, like, being examined to see if it's a weapon? I don't know. But either way, it's not a weak point of the thing. It's not anything that could be used against you. It's just silly. It's just like, horseshoe. Like, this could be dangerous. And second of all, if these are wild horses, even if they're not, you know what? If these weren't wild horses, here's the thing. Horses don't wear horseshoes when they're just sort of tramping around in the wild, or even in an open pasture. You put a horseshoe on a horse when you are taking it somewhere and you want to protect its feet for a long trek, or if it's going to have to step on asphalt or something like that. And then you unshoe the horse, and then you clean out its feet, and, you know, you let it go. Like, they don't wear those all the time. And these horses just wander around the island of Oahu. I was like, even if they are owned by somebody, there's not going to be any shoes on them. And so that's a dumb thing that I noticed, but I was just like... Why alien targeting system, and why is it even wearing horseshoes? I don't know, so we're gonna move past that. So, the other thing, while we're on the island of Oahu, you might wonder why we're there. It's because we needed to give the love interest of the guy, and the guy has to have, this despicable guy I mentioned, he has to have a love interest because guys in these movies have love interests. I don't know. But she's a physical therapist, and she's on the island, and she's, like, leading this guy around who has no legs. He has prostheses legs, and I feel a little bad about this because I think the actor actually does have prostheses, so maybe, I mean, but then again, like, that's no reason to not say that he's the worst actor in the movie. Like, he's not even an actor. He just sort of says things that he's supposed to say that are in the script, and they're so bad, and his character almost has, well, it really does have no point being in the movie apart from to give the movie a B story and give the love interest something to do. He's so bad. Like, he's so obnoxious and, like, I'm tough, and I'm really sad because I'm useless as a soldier because I have no legs. And it just, and he's given, like, the worst dialogue. He's given, like, the cheesy trailer dialogue. It's awful. And it's just painful every time you're around this character and the love interest, and obviously them trying to shoehorn something into this. But my point is, so, he has all these cheesy movie trailer lines. I'm only half a man, etc. I'm gonna break my metal foot off in your ass, etc. It's just like, shut up. So there's that, but there's also, we have our Z-grade Jeff Goldblum, and I don't mean the character who usually plays the role of Jeff Goldblum, just the wacky scientist who nobody listens to. I don't mean that character, I mean he looks and it sounds and is trying to talk like and act like Jeff Goldblum. Exactly, like that is so their intention, but they couldn't get Jeff Goldblum, so they got a guy who, like, imitates him. It's like the Elvis impersonator version of Jeff Goldblum. And, like, the minute you see it, like, I wasn't looking for that, I just was watching the movie, and then I see him from a distance, and I'm like, I don't remember Jeff Goldblum being advertised as being in this movie, and it gets closer, and I'm like, oh, it's not him. And I start talking, and I'm like, they're trying to be him, like, and I just kept laughing, because every scene he's in, that's obviously what they're trying to do. And it's just so ridiculous, and I'm like, oh no. So yeah, like, that's why I couldn't be mad at this movie. I just felt sad for it. Like, it was trying, but it had nothing but bad ideas. There's nothing but bad ideas in this movie. And, at least they're sort of different bad ideas. It doesn't feel like it was written by executives. It feels like it was proposed by executives and then just written by somebody with no talent who cared but just had no idea what the fuck they were doing. So, anyway, point is, this guy who says all this cheesy movie trailer dialogue, he gets in the Jeep, the guy with the prostheses, he gets in the Jeep and he's, like, ready to rev up and he's like, I'm just gonna try to give the world one more day. And the scientist Jeff Goldblum guy looks at him and he says, who talks like that? And for half a second, I smiled. And, like, I probably shouldn't have, but for a moment, I was like, yeah, like, don't comment on how bad the movie is when you're in the bad movie and you're not helping it, Mr. Imitation Jeff Goldblum, but yes, like, he just looks at him very alien for half a second and goes, who talks like that? And then the guy drives away as if to say, shut up, don't commentate on how shitty the dialogue is, and he goes away. And, oh man, so there was that, and then, okay, so the last things pertain to the Battleship themselves. They're on destroyers, they're on modern grade, you know, like the game Battleship has been around for eons, and a lot of the, naval ships are kind of out of date. I don't know much about the military naval things, and in general doesn't interest me, but I know enough to know that, and that's kind of the joke of the movie, is that, you know, there aren't really battleships anymore. Those are big tanks that are made to withstand damage, but aren't necessarily up-to-date on firing, you know, that sort of thing. You have destroyers. You have ocean destroyers or whatever, and I don't know the terminology for what's used modernly, but that's what they fight with most of the time. So their last destroyer goes down, and they do sort of a Titanic thing where it's upending, and our heroes are on the tip of the thing. And they look down. If you just sort of imagine, here's the battleship. A visual aid for a reason. And a little thicker. There we go. And here's our heroes on top. And they're running around and they're looking down. And the propellers are spinning off and exploding off the back end of the ship. And they look down and we go, we have to jump! And there's these two propellers, you know, like, they're blowing off in all directions, and there's explosions down below from when they're hitting the water, and they're like, we have to jump and dodge the explosions and the propellers. And I'm like, the ship has two other sides. It has a third one, but that's the front, and if they jumped, they would hit the the ship that protrudes in the other direction, right? So they can't jump off that way. That's the way they came. They crawled up the deck. There we go. See, I really don't know ships. They crawled up the deck of the ship. I know horses, though. I know you don't shoe horses out on Oahu. And they crawled up the deck of the ship, and they're standing on top, and they're looking down at the propellers, and we have to jump. And I'm like, okay, you got this side of the ship and this side of the ship where there are there are little to no explosions, and it's not falling in either direction where you could say like it's falling in this direction so it would fall on top of them, or it's falling in this direction so if they jumped they'd hit it. Because they could have done that and then just said, yeah, like you'd have to jump off this way. It's just sort of going down slowly like this. Jump off either way and you're safe. Like they didn't animate any explosions on those sides of the ship. You'll be okay. Nope, jump to the propellers. It's the only way. And just like. And the other thing is the big wackaroo of the movie, which is that they have to use this ancient battleship that hasn't been fired up in over a decade, and it's the Missouri. Is that it? They call it Big Mo. It's Missouri, something SS Missouri, I don't know. And it's an old battleship that was like made around the World War II era or something like this. I'm sorry, I don't know much about naval history. I'm sorry, but it's very old, and it hasn't actually been like even turned on for just a tour exhibition of the thing in like over a decade. And it's been just sort of sitting and being used as a museum. Like there are vending machines on it and people are toured around the thing. And they're going to use it to fight, so they have to fix it up, like they have to repair. And so that's the thing, they like get veterans and stuff like that from the Korean War to come and, yeah, I think they're mostly Korean veterans, to come and repair the ship and make sure it's ship-shape and stuff like that before they send it out. And again, they have to send it out because of the force field. They can only use what's inside. And all their other ships are destroyed, so they get this museum ship to go fight the aliens. And sorry, I'm, spoiling this for you. The battleship, goes down. You sunk my battleship. They didn't have... The closest thing they have to this is this veteran that says, no way are they going to sink this battleship. That's the closest they get. But they try. And there's a gimmick in the thing. That's the thing. They try in this movie. There's a gimmick in the thing where they use tsunami buoys to calculate water displacement so they can see the aliens because they're cloaked and or it's night or something. I don't remember. I didn't catch why they can't see them, but they can't see them and they can't use sonar and for some reason. And so they do this. They do the battleship thing where they're like in C quadrant and then they're just using the buoys to calculate it. That was kind of cute. It wasn't good, but they're trying. I just feel bad for them. And my point is, I'm getting to the end of the review here. The battleship itself, like this whole idea that they're using this museum ship is completely bunk because they have, I don't care how old the ammo is, this thing is used as a museum, right? They have live ammo on this thing? Like, after how many years of it sitting being used in a museum? No, and they don't ship it in. They don't have a thing of like, yeah, we have some off the shore that we could port in, like, it's old stuff. Like they say, like, this is really old weaponry that we're using. It's out of date. Like, you couldn't put modern ballistics into this thing, I don't think, and fire them. Probably wouldn't work. I don't think. So they use the old stuff that's on there. After how many years of it sitting in port and being used as a museum? Like, that's dangerous. They would take that shit off the ship. No, that's not going to be in the hull. Like, all those huge-ass torpedoes and shit are not going to be on this ship still. But they are. And so they sail, and that'd be fine, because it's supposed to be a dumb movie. That's not really a big deal. The problem is, like I said, if it's going to be a big dumb movie like that, it has to be a statistic kind of movie, and it's not. It is a small-scale casualty movie where we don't care about the characters. In fact, the hero is a total asshole. There's not really anything to say about the other name actors. Like, everybody's a bad actor in this, but nobody's as bad as the guy with the prostheses. Like, he's the most obviously, like, really bad actor. Everybody else just has shittily written parts. Rihanna is in this. She's fine. She's just being Rihanna. She's sort of, her acting is like the scale you would see in her music videos. It's like, oh, that's not good, but it's a battleship. And Liam Neeson is just there to collect his paycheck. He's barely in the movie. He just occasionally shows up. He does not have a role that merits any comment, really. And that's it. Like, that's Battleship. Don't go see it. You're gonna be bored. Like, you won't be, maybe you'll be insulted, I don't know. Because some people weren't insulted by Dark Shadows. I was, but I just felt sorry for this movie. And so, yeah, it's bad.